So they start us off pretty simply in example 1 with just a single translation. And they tell us, they give us a graph, that's our function. And they tell us we want to do 3 units to the right, and what they're interested in is what's the domain and range. Well, it seems to me that the best thing to do to start this would be to figure out what the domain and range is to start with. So in this particular graph, it looks like the domain, which is all the values that x could be, goes from -5 to 6. So I can write that x is between -5 and 6. And if I look at the range, which is all the values that y could be, the biggest y value we have is 3, and the smallest y value we have is -4. So I could say that y is between, sorry, it's kind of messy, -4 and 3. So now I know what my original domain is. And I can probably expect that if I'm going to shift it 3 that way, then it's going to increase my domain points by 3 because we're pushing it into the positive, which means I could solve that part right away. I could say that domain is x is going to be between, and I'm just going to increase these ones by 3. 6 plus 3 is 9, and -5 plus 3 is -2. But I can check that by actually physically moving the graph 3 dots that way. So I'm going to take my 6 and -2, and I think I've got to extend my graph just a little bit because that's at about 8 right there. So there's 9. So I could put this point at what's going to be 9 and -2. So I've just shifted the x value, not the y. And the 2 over here is going to be 1, 2, 3 over that way, which means that it's going to be 5 and 2 now. This one is at -3 and 3, so it's actually going to hit right on the line now at 0 and 3. And this one moves 3 over that way, so it becomes -2 and -4. You're just going to have to deal with my sketch graph because can't figure out how to get the software to work on the better program. So if I were to sketch my lines here without making my pen all mucky, then I should see that roughly, forgiving me for having not a graph paper, roughly you'll see that the whole shape of the graph just goes sideways 3 points. And I can look and check to see that I was correct here. Now my biggest value for x is 9, and my smallest value for x is -2. Perfect. So what I want to do now is look at the range. Did the range change? Nope, range didn't change. So my range is just going to be the same as the original equation, which is -4 to 3. Next part here, what they want us to do is B says a translation of 2 units down. So for B, we're going to go 2 units down. They're not asking us to use algebra or anything, they're actually asking us to physically move the graph that far. What you might note is that domain's not going to change, is it? Because we're not shifting it this way now, we're just shifting it down. So the domain is going to be the same as the original, which is -5 to 6. The range, however, we can predict how the range is going to change. If it's going 2 down, then we're going to decrease these points by 2, and it should be -6 and 1. We can check that out by actually plotting it. So this -5 and -4 point stays at -5, but it drops 2 to -6. So there's our -4, -6, -5, and -6 now. This point drops to -3, stays the same, but now it's just at 1. This point drops 2, and now we are actually sitting right on the line there at 2 and 0. This one drops 2 down, and now we're at 6, which is the same, and -4. So bring the -4 over here. That looks about right. And then we just try to tidily connect our dots, a little low on that one, and down to there. So we can see that the shape has just dropped 2 points, and we can look at our values and see that -6 is indeed the lowest point and 1 is the highest point. So that worked.